There is a fact in this video about a bank robbery. Christmas Eve, 1927. A career criminal walks into a Texas bank dressed as Santa Claus. Children follow him in off the street, and by the end of it, there are 200 bullet holes in the building. 2 little girls taken hostage, and the largest manhunt in Texas history. That part is not even the most unhinged part. Here are 16 facts that prove Texas is completely unhinged. The United States holds an estimated 5,000 tigers in private captivity, more tigers than exist in the wild, worldwide. And Texas has more of them than any other state. A tiger cub in Texas can be purchased for as little as $900, cheaper than many purebred dogs. In 2021, a 9-month-old Bengal tiger named India escaped from a private home in a West Houston suburb and spent 6 days roaming the neighborhood before anyone caught him. His owner fled the scene with the tiger loaded into a Jeep Cherokee when police arrived. He was later arrested. India was fine. Just outside San Antonio, a single limestone cave houses the largest concentration of mammals on Earth. Up to 20 million bats roosting inside Bracken Cave from March through October. Every evening at dusk, they pour out in a column so dense it registers on Doppler weather radar. New meteorologists in San Antonio have to be warned on their first day. That is not a storm forming northeast of the city. That is bats. Locals call it the batnado. The emergence can last 4.5 hours. They eat over 150 tons of insects every single night. In 1900, Galveston was one of the wealthiest cities in America, the largest cotton port in the country, the first city in Texas with electricity and telephone service. On September 8th, a Category 4 hurricane made landfall. The storm surge hit 15 feet. Between 8,000 and 12,000 people died, more than every other hurricane to strike the United States in the 125 years since, combined. The head meteorologist in Galveston had published an article 8 years earlier declaring it simply an absurd delusion that a hurricane could ever seriously damage the city. On January 10, 1901, a drilling crew outside Beaumont hit something at 1,139 feet. 6 tons of drilling pipe shot out of the ground. Then oil followed, 100,000 barrels a day, blasting over 150 feet into the air. That single well produced more oil in one day than every other oil well on Earth combined. It ran uncontrolled for 9 days before anyone could stop it. Total Texas oil production the year before was 836,000 barrels. Spindletop matched that in 9 days. Gulf Oil, Texaco, and Exxon all trace their origins to what happened on that hill. In Burnett County, in the Texas Hill Country, there is a limestone fissure, 155 feet deep, called Dead Man's Hole. During the Civil War, Confederate vigilantes used it as a dumping ground for bodies. A local judge was shot while fleeing to Mexico and thrown in. A German immigrant settler was thrown in. Reconstruction-era county officials were thrown in. Historians believe at least 17 people ended up at the bottom. In 1866, families descended into the hole and retrieved sacks of bones. Those remains were brought to the courthouse for identification. Then they disappeared. They have never been found. The story of Texas deciding who the law applies to and who it does not is not done yet. 9 miles east of the town of Marfa, the Texas Department of Transportation built a dedicated roadside viewing area for something nobody can explain. Since 1883, glowing orbs have appeared over the desert floor of Mitchell Flat. Basketball-sized lights that hover, split apart, merge back together, and vanish. The leading skeptic explanation is that they are car headlights on Highway 67, bent by temperature gradients in the air. The problem: the first documented sighting was in 1883. Cars did not arrive in Texas until 16 years later. University physics teams have investigated. Geologists have investigated. 140 years in, nobody has a confirmed answer. In 2019, federal prosecutors in Houston charged 38 people as part of a pill mill investigation. The network had moved 23 million opioid pills, enough for 1 dose for every adult living in the state of Texas. One doctor had personally prescribed 2 million opioid pills in 15 months. Another was charged after her pharmacy dispensed the second highest volume of oxycodone 30 milligram pills of any pharmacy in the entire state. The pills were not staying in Houston. Some were found as far away as Boston. In 1993, federal agents raided a compound outside Waco belonging to a group called the Branch Davidians. A 51-day standoff followed. On April 19th, the FBI moved in with tanks and tear gas. The compound caught fire. 76 people died, including 25 children. Whether the Davidians set the fire or the gas ignited, it remains disputed to this day. 2 years later, on April 19, 1995, Timothy McVeigh detonated a truck bomb outside a federal building in Oklahoma City, killing 168 people. He cited Waco as the primary reason. He chose that date deliberately. Here is the Santa Claus robbery. December 23, 1927. Marshall Ratliff, career criminal, freshly out of prison, borrows a Santa Claus suit, walks toward the First National Bank in Cisco, and is followed in by a group of children delighted to see St. Nick. His crew draws guns inside. Citizens see through the window, grab their own weapons, and open fire. The Texas Bankers Association had offered $5,000 to anyone who shot a bank robber. 200 bullet holes end up in the building. 2 little girls are taken hostage. The gang escapes in a stolen car with a flat tire and almost no gas. The largest manhunt in Texas history follows. Ratliff is captured, sentenced to death. Before his execution, a mob storms the jail chanting, "We want Santa Claus." They drag him out and hang him in the street. Texas deliberately keeps its power grid disconnected from the rest of the United States. Every other state ties into one of 2 national grids. Texas built its own, specifically to avoid federal regulation. In 2011, a winter storm knocked out power across parts of the state. Federal regulators issued a formal report warning that Texas power plants would fail again in severe cold and recommending immediate weatherization. Texas ignored it. In February 2021, another winter storm hit. The grid came 4 minutes and 37 seconds from a complete statewide collapse. Engineers said recovery could have taken weeks or months. Over 200 people died. In the 1850s, the United States Army ran a working camel cavalry unit in Texas. The program was championed for years by Jefferson Davis, then Secretary of War. Congress approved $30,000 to purchase camels from the Mediterranean. They arrived in Texas, were based at Camp Verde in the Hill Country, and performed brilliantly, carrying heavier loads than horses in brutal desert heat. Then, the Civil War began. Jefferson Davis left to become President of the Confederacy. The camel program died with his departure. The camels were auctioned off. Some escaped into the desert. Near the town of Lajitas in far west Texas, a beer-drinking goat named Clay Henry has served as mayor since the 1980s. This started as a joke. A local businessman ran his goat against a candidate from Houston he did not like. The goat won the second election in a landslide. The original Clay Henry was succeeded by Clay Henry II. Clay Henry II was castrated by his own son in a dispute over a female goat. Clay Henry III assumed office. He resides in a pen across from a golf resort. Visitors feed him Lone Star Longnecks, which he drinks directly from the bottle. The stuffed remains of Clay Henry I are on display at a local restaurant. The King Ranch in South Texas covers 825,000 acres, larger than the entire state of Rhode Island. One privately owned ranch, 4 divisions, 6 counties, 35,000 cattle. Captain Richard King started buying land there in 1853 on a creek-fed patch of what was then called the Wild Horse Desert. His descendants still own it today. The ranch has its own branded line of Ford pickup trucks. Driving across it takes hours. Brewster County is the largest county in Texas. It covers 6,192 square miles, larger than the entire state of Connecticut. It contains Big Bend National Park, a stretch of the Rio Grande, and the Chisos Mountains. As of the 2020 census, its total population was 9,546 people. Alpine is the only city in the entire county. That is 1 person per 6/10 of a square mile in a county. When Texas joined the United States in 1845, the annexation agreement included a clause that exists for no other state. Texas retains the legal right to divide itself into as many as 5 separate states. This has never been used. It is sitting in the annexation resolution, fully intact, never repealed. If Texas ever exercised it, each new state would get 2 senators, potentially adding 8 new Senate seats to Congress overnight. Legal scholars confirm the clause is real. Constitutional lawyers debate whether it would hold up today. Texas has not seemed in any hurry to test it. The Emancipation Proclamation took effect on January 1, 1863, declaring every enslaved person in Confederate states legally free. Texas slaveholders simply ignored it. Some enslavers from other states relocated to Texas specifically because federal troops were scarce there, bringing tens of thousands of enslaved people with them to outrun the law. 2.5 years passed. It was not until June 19, 1865, that Union soldiers arrived in Galveston and physically enforced emancipation for 250,000 people. That day became Juneteenth. The bones from Dead Man's Hole disappeared from the courthouse. The law said 250,000 people were free. Texas just decided otherwise. The pattern is the state. 16 facts, 1 state. And this is not close to everything. If your family had settled in Galveston instead of somewhere inland, would you even exist? Next up, Mississippi is unhinged. The state where a man was convicted of murder in 1995 based almost entirely on bite mark evidence from a forensic dentist who would later be linked to wrongful convictions in 24 other cases. Mississippi is something else entirely.